Gee, Mr. Stark, I'm sorry, but I have to reject your offer for the suit and for being an Avenger. I just want to do the responsible thing and spend some time learning the ropes to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. A few moments later. Alright, you're an Avenger. Woohoo! Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. Today we're taking a look at the newly reissued Marvel Legends Marvel Studios Iron Spider. Starting off with the packaging, and we have a brand new window box to look at. This one's a generalized Marvel Studios sub-series. This is in contrast to the Infinity Saga collection, which as much as I like, I have gone on record before saying is very cluttered. Very, very cluttered. Of course, the Infinity Saga only limits them to the first 3 phases of Marvel movies, whereas a general Marvel Studios series can cover phases 4 and onward. Cause that's where the good stuff is. We see a sliver of Spider-Man peeking out of the side, which I'll be honest, I don't really love, though I will admit when you tilt the box it does make for a pretty cool effect. That said, with the same image on the other side, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, although I do think that seeing a bunch of these lined up together will look pretty nice. On the back we get some concept art, and also a bio. The Infinity Saga would include posters of the movie that the character was from, which was helpful if you weren't entirely sure which look they were going for. Iron Spider is pretty recognizable, but there's also an Iron Man in this wave, and I have no idea where he's from. Just something to think about moving forward. Overall, I like this, but for packaging, I'm giving it 4 points. Moving on to presentation, and the Iron Spider stands at 5 3/4 inches, and is just a reissue of the previous versions. I personally wasn't collecting MCU figures when this came out, so I'm pretty grateful for a second chance. Admittedly, I've always kind of had mixed feelings about this costume. Given that this is what the Iron Spider looks like in the comic, I was always a little bit let down that this didn't look more like that, but regardless of how I feel about the design, as an action figure, it's been very well done. Normally I complain about these Spider-Man figures not having painted web lines, but the Iron Spider didn't either. Instead, the webbing was segmented armored panels. That said, I'm a bit unclear as to whether or not the armor actually had this texture in the movie. I looked up pictures online, but I didn't really find anything high-res enough. Although I will say that the Marvel Legends roleplay helmet doesn't have it, so I guess that's pretty telling. Even so, this does still look really good. The marbleized plastic has been very well executed to give it that metallic look, and there's a lot of fine gold detail in there to bring out all that trim. Pushing back on the butterfly joints, and I'm very happy to report that that pink continues underneath. Same thing with underneath the ab crunch. Flipping them around, we can see some more of that gold trimming on the back, and then zooming in on the web shooters, there's some bright blue for the glowy bits. Additionally, the eyes are nice and crisp. Moving down to the boots, we see more gold piping as well as more web lines. Given how disappointed I was by the Infinity Saga Civil War reissue, I'm very impressed. I discussed that in my 2023 Spider-Man ranked video. For presentation, I'm giving the Iron Spider 5 points. Moving on to posability, and while it might not be as nimble as some of the more recent Spider-Man movie figures, this one does still have it where it counts. Fur on the top, and his head's on a ball joint and a disc swivel. Thanks to that swivel, he gets a great amount up and can really bury the chin. The only downside is you don't really get a whole lot of tilt with those, but you do get all the way around. Moving on down, and Spidey can stretch his arm up 90 degrees. He's got forward and back with a rotator cuff. And then moving down, we got bicep swivel, pin double jointed elbows with a very deep bend, and swivel hinge wrists. Just be warned that this back plate gets in the way, so if you want him to do some web shooting, you'll need to twist the hand out of the way. Moving to the middle, and Spider-Man has an ab crunch and a waist swivel. He can't really arch back that far, at least the way his other Tom Holland figures can get more. But the hunch forward is spectacular. No tilt, of course, but he can twist. Below the waist, and Spidey has ball-jointed hips. They can kick 90 degrees and split this wide. Moving down the leg, and he has thigh cut, pin double-jointed knees, no boot cut or swivel, but ankles that can hinge, and just like Homecoming Peter Parker rejecting the Iron Spider suit to Infinity War Peter Parker happy to be an Avenger, pivot. For posability, I'm giving the Iron Spider 4 points. Moving on to playability, and I do have to admit that's one area that I'm a little bit disappointed in this figure. As we've already seen, he comes preloaded with fists, and as I teased in the last category, he comes with whippies. He also comes with a couple of web effects, and I'm kind of curious, do any of you use these for anything? I'll be honest, I've never even attempted to use these in any kind of figure photography. On the one hand, I kind of feel like they're useless, but spiderwebs are a big part of Spider-Man, so I do get why they'd include them. But more importantly, where's WALDOES? If you're confused, WALDOES is the term for the mechanical arms that come out of Iron Spider's back. I'm no toy accountant, so I can't really speak to how much that would have set the budget over, but with everything being reused, it would have been nice if they could have included it, especially given how rare and hard to find that particular version of the figure is. Ideally, I would love a deluxe version of Iron Spider. Give him the Waldos. In addition to the fists and thwippies, give him some wall crawlers. Give him an alternate Peter head and an alternate instant kill head, and cap the whole thing off with the Nano Gauntlet. That would be $35 well spent. Fortunately, we have a few good Tom Holland heads now, and to be honest, the fact that they didn't include one with this release doesn't really bother me. Really, I just wanted the Waldos. But playability is more than just accessories, it's also about how well your figure plays with others. Starting with some Infinity War alumni, and here we have Iron Man. This is the version from Age of Ultron, but for Spider-Man's second favorite bearded jerk with a heart of gold, and here we have Doctor Strange. I don't have Mantis, but for the other Guardians of the Galaxy that Spider-Man interacted with, and here we have Star-Lord, and here we have Drax. These figures come from the 5-pack. Of course, you can't have Queens without Brooklyn, so here's Spider-Man with Captain America. Now, if only I had the Gargoyles Bronx. As for some villains, we've got to bring out Grimace. Moving back a little bit closer to home, though, and here we have the Homecoming Deluxe Vulture, the Far From Home Mysterio, and then from No Way Home, and here we have Sandman, the best Marvel Legend of 2023, and one of the best Marvel Legends of 2024 so far, Dr. Octopus. Hello, Peter. Are we really doing this bit again? But for some Spider-Man support, and here we have Happy Hogan, the 2-pack version of MJ. By the way, I do have the No Way Home version, I just haven't decided if I'm going to review her or not. So for now, she's staying in her plastic prison. And then on the subject of 2-packs, and here we have Ned from the Peter and Ned 2-pack. And then also from that 2-pack, some random no-name kid who I frankly do not recognize. For other iterations of Tom Holland's suit, and here we have the Homecoming version, the Far From Home version, which could definitely use an upgrade with some painted lines and more of a matte finish, the integrated suit, which with that giant gold spider kind of looks more like Iron Spider than the actual Iron Spider suit, and for one final swing from the movies, the final swing suit. Here we have the comic book Iron Spider with all of his Waldos, for both the comic and relative scale comparison, and here we have Pizza Spidey and Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here he is with Stealth Iron Man. I see why you told me to go for Cap's legs. Having appeared in several movies, there are a lot of display options for the Iron Spider, but the lack of wall-crawling hands, and especially Waldos, does limit our options and makes this Spider-Man feel incomplete. Knocking it down to point because of the accessories, and for playability, I'm giving the Iron Spider 4 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Iron Spider retails for $24.99, which of course is the current going rate for Marvel Legends. New in box, the previous 2 single-issue releases average for about $45 on the aftermarket, so this is a more affordable way of getting him, but at $25 with complete reuse and no build-a-figure piece, it really does feel inexcusable to not have included the Waldos. It means that at some point they will reissue this figure with them and we'll have to buy it all over again. For price, I'm giving Iron Spider 3 points, averaging out to a grand total of 4 out of 5. Which MCU figure would you like to see get reissued? Sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.